I don't know how to start this off, but I guess here we go. This is my 2007 Corvette Z06. My name is Quentin. I'm gonna be starting a little YouTube vlog on this car. This is gonna be the start of a series. We'll see how well it does on YouTube if you guys really give a fuck. I've done heads, I've done a cam, long tube headers, and recently I just changed the oil and it's looking mighty sparkly. You can't really see it on camera, but this motor needs to come out. And some backstory on this car. I've owned it for almost a year now. It's got 16,000 miles on it. It's a great car. Yeah, 16,400 miles on it. It's an amazing car. It drives like nothing else I've ever had. I used to have a Subaru WRX, and at one point I owned a 2011 Shelby GT500, which was also fun. But yeah, so I'm gonna be making a little YouTube blog on taking this thing apart, taking the motor out, building the motor, and we'll see how you guys like it. So today we got the proper footwear on. We got the Birks, fluffy insides. We got the jumpsuit going on. And then this is my little workstation. It's a fucking mess. I probably should clean it up before I start this project, because I've got shit everywhere. I've been trying to drain the metal out of this car for a while. So all of this is just used oil. Oil. This has got oil. I need to drop all this shit off at AutoZone. Give it to the boys. I was gonna put new oil in it, but I figured since the oil is so sparkly, this is brand new oil here. I'll use it whenever I get the motor back together. But yeah, so first things we need to do for the car is the intake needs to come off, manifold come off. We'll take coil packs off, vacuum lines, and we'll probably disconnect the catch can for now, and that'll be it. I've got the jankiest tripod set up, but hopefully my phone doesn't fall. Got some beach towels and fender covers. They work fucking amazing. Don't waste your money on Snap-on bullshit fender covers that cost hundreds of dollars, and you can use beach towels. All right. So yeah, I'm gonna get the intake manifold off, intake off, coil packs, spark plug wires, all this shit that you need to make a car run. So yeah, I guess I'll make a time lapse of that. Starting now. Knew my phone would fall at some point. This is my tripod right now. Got one of my Snap-on batteries. I set my phone up here. So far, intake and vacuum lines are off. I've got this wiring harness disconnected on this side. I'm working on the other side. And then I'll be able to unclip this fuel hose. We're gonna disconnect the alternator. I'm gonna disconnect the ECT sensor, unplug the injectors, pull the harness back, and then we're gonna start undoing the manifold. So yeah, I'll do a time lapse of that. See how long it takes me to get this manifold off. That's probably the most pain in the ass thing about this is getting that manifold off. There's something about this fucking coolant line in the back. Or not coolant line, sorry. The vacuum line to the brake booster. This shit is fucked because it hits the oil pressure sending unit, and you have to route the hose behind it, or you have to make it go up between this little crevice right here, which is fucking difficult. So I had to fidget with that for a while. All valves look fucking clean. No issues here. No issues so far. Whenever I parked it, this car ran perfectly. No noise, no nothing. And the oil is super glittery. It's like something's wearing. And then the magnetic drain plugs had a lot of material on it, so I'm thinking the bearings might be going out. So that's what this build is going to be. It's going to be an OEM rebuild. I don't think I'm going to be getting a new short block or engine. I think I'm just going to be taking it apart or sending it to a machine shop and having them replace the bearings and piston rings and all that, and rehome the cylinders. So yeah, next step is to probably tackle the fucking alternator bracket, power steering bracket, because that is the biggest pain in the ass. Probably more big pain in the ass than than removing the intake. So yeah, that will be our next step, is taking this belt off and getting the alternator off and removing this power steering bracket so we can separate it from the head, and hopefully take the heads off today. Not looking to kind of rush this. I want to take my time. So yeah, if we can get the heads off today, I'll be happy. And then next time I have availability to work on it, tackle the bell housing bolts, headers. What else? We either need to take the steering rack out of the car, or we need to drop down the subframe so we can move the motor out and up. And yeah, so I guess I'll just start a new time lapse. As many of you know, if you've ever worked on an LS or Corvette with this kind of power steering bracket, you have to loosen some bolts that are behind this pulley inside there. This bolt right here, that one right there where the tip of my finger is, that thing's a fucking pain in the ass. And that's about it. So this is probably gonna take me about 30 minutes just to get this bracket separated from the head. And then after that, I guess we can disconnect the steering shaft and we'll disconnect the headers from the heads. And we can start pulling the heads off. And after that, I'll probably end up taking radiator out, AC condenser, fan, disconnecting all the cooling hoses, getting everything out of the front of the motor. Just because I've never done this before, I want to have as much room in the front as possible to work. And yeah, so I'll keep going with the time lapses. Everything is going to plan so far. I do need to be a little more organized because I'm leaving shit everywhere. We're stacking up parts quickly. Nothing too bad, but yeah, I might have to get a table out here so we can be a little more organized. But yeah, start the time lapse of getting this power steering bracket off, see how it goes. Okay, so one thing I completely forgot to do, because I had already drained the oil, forgot to drain the coolant. So I was taking off the coolant crossover for the cylinder heads and had some coolant come out of here. So we are going to go ahead and drain the coolant before we do anything else. Just to give you guys a little insight onto what this oil looked like before I dump it. I drained this the other night, and depending on how well you can see this, yeah, see all the spark? Oh yeah. All that sparkly goodness. Yep, that is why we are pulling the motor today. Wow, I really just fucking soaked that. All right, but clean up this oil, drain the coolant. I'm condensing all my good oil into here, and those two guys over there. This is all sparkly oil. I don't know why I kept draining it. I was kind of in denial about this whole thing, but now I've accepted it, and it's time to get this bad boy out of here and fucking build the motor. So, yep, get to it. Got the oil dumped into those two guys, so I have some more room in my little canister. So, let's get to draining this coolant. Oh, I love when it squirts all over your face. That's what she said. Oh, look away. Oh, oh, oh no! I made a mess everywhere. Maybe I should have left the petcock valve halfway in instead of taking it all the way out. Too late, I guess. She is draining now. Okay, after like, I'd say 20 minutes of struggling, we have separated this power steering bracket from the head. That was probably the easiest I've ever done this. Although that's the probably, let's see, that's the 6th time I've had to take one of those off. I've had a little experience doing it, but I can proudly say I did it before the coolant drained. And now all we have to do is disconnect the headers, take off valve covers, disconnect the rocker arms, take the push rods out, and we can start doing head bolts and taking the heads off. I've probably been at this project for around an hour or 20 minutes now. I'd say we're on a good speed so far. But yeah, there's no way I could film that power steering bracket removal. It is pretty easy. The first time I ever did the heads on this car, I had an issue with putting this bolt in right here at the top of the head, and it kind of cross-threaded the beginning threads, so I just left it out. So you will have to take out that bolt if you are doing this yourself. You can take off the bracket that holds this power steering right before, so you have better movement and you can get to bolts easier, because usually it's fixed, it's right here, and you kind of cut your hands doing all that bullshit. So scoot it out of the way, get the bolts out. Now it's time for headers and whatever I fucking said before. Oh yeah, rocker arms. So let's get it. Just got around to removing the spark plugs. They look good. They got only 800 miles on them. They look fine. So yeah, I said I was gonna disconnect the headers, but then I realized I probably should take the plugs out first so I don't hit the back of the plug when I drop the header. Yeah, time to take the headers off. Let's do it. So after I got the plugs out, I started disconnecting the header on this side, and I found a problem, I believe to be a problem. That exhaust port is black. That guy's black. And that guy's fucking clean. I had no, yeah, so that's the only clean exhaust port, and I had no check engine light, no misfire. So yeah, I'm about to go take off the headers on the other side, see what those exhaust ports look like. I am confused. I don't know what would cause that. Probably do some research and see. But yeah.